Hi guys, so today I'm going to be doing a book review of The Darkest Part of the Forest by Holly Black. I borrowed this book from the library as I wasn't sure if I would like it or not, and I saw it while I was at the library and was like, yeah, I've heard about this book, I want to pick it up, and so I picked it up and I absolutely loved it. I loved it so much that I'm thinking about buying it for my own collection. This book follows a girl named Hazel. Now Hazel lives in a little town called Fairfold. Now in this little town, in the darkest part of the forest, lies a glass casket, and in the casket lies a sleeping fairy prince, and no one can ever seem to wake him. And Hazel and her brother Ben often go to this prince sleeping and tell him things, and they have like adventures and made up stories of him pretending that he is, you know, alive and well here with them. In their town too, obviously fairies do exist, and the fairies don't really trouble the people that live there. However, tourists and such they do have an issue with. Tourists come to see the prince in the glass casket. They don't really believe about it until they see it, and they take selfies of it too and everything. And they don't really believe about the fairies too until they see them too. However, the fairies are evil and dangerous, and often tourists can end up going missing or being murdered by these fairies. However, they still keep coming. But the fairies don't really touch the people that live in this town until just recently. This book doesn't go where you expect it to go, and for that reason I love it. Ben, Hazel's brother, is also gay, and it's not made a big deal of. He's just gay, and that's just it. I love that. I love that about this book. I love the fairy aspect and the fantasy element of this book, however, while keeping it told in a modern day society like ours, you know, where people take selfies with this fairy prince in this glass casket. Like, how cool is that? Like, I love how Holly Black has mixed the two things together. This book can also be really creepy at times. Like, not creepy that I got frightened, but just like creepy in the things that were happening in some of the fairies and what they did. And I love the creepiness element to this book. The fairies too, I really enjoyed. I thought they were done well, and again, it's a fairy book that I actually enjoyed for once. However, can we have a fairy book but for ones like where the fairies aren't evil or like tricksters? Because I grew up with like the fairies. They lived in the fairy garden and they granted wishes and they played with unicorns and like the tooth fairy and everything, and they were really gorgeous and they would never mean to harm you. And then every fairy book that I've read, especially in YA, it's just like fairies are evil and tricksters and you never want to make a deal with a fairy. Can someone please let me know if there is a fairy YA book where the fairies are good and not evil? Please, because I'd really love to read that. But I'm getting off topic, so back to the book. I really liked Hazel's character and her brother Ben and the relationship that they had together. I thought Hazel was really strong too. She never once really faltered or was scared. She always stood up to what she had to do, and she was a really brave, kick-ass kind of character. There is a small romance aspect in this book, but it's not there too much, and it definitely does not take away from the story. Instead, it's a nice added touch that really just made the story even more special than it already is. This book is a standalone, however, I could definitely see how it would be a sequel. After I finished this book, I didn't know if it was a standalone or not, and it kind of left open like it could be a sequel. However, I found out that it is just a standalone, and I'm really happy with that. Though kind of sad too, because I really would love to spend more time in this world and with these characters who I've just like grown to fall in love with throughout this book. Overall, I love this book and I'm rating it a 4 out of 5 stars. It's nearly a 4.5, but I'm rating it a 4 stars, and on Goodreads it'll be easy to mark as a 4 stars too. As I said, I really enjoyed it that much that I kind of want to pick up my own copy for my own collection, because it's definitely a story that I would reread. So I would love to know in the comments below if you have read this book and what you thought of it, and like this video if you liked it, and subscribe if you'd like to see more book related videos to me, and I'll see you next time. Okay, bye!